Greetings and welcome to my dear Capricorn. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the order of the Twin Sun. The 10th house is open. So we shall be doing a reading for the energy of Capricorn in December 2022. This is a prognostication. About 50% of this should be right. And within that margin of error, we shall analyze the 10th house, Capricorn's energy. The 10th house is essentially the house of karma, the culmination of externalized actions that originate from a subjective operator and agent, that is the agency of Capricorn, and how these actions culminate into a pinnacle or a mountain. This mountain is symbolized with the externalized visions, the externalized reception, the speculative sport, we can call it, of give and take when it comes to our outer body, okay, our career, how we are observed in society, how people observe us. As well as the culmination of certain karmas that bring forward an idea of self that is externalized, and it's also put into a social understanding. This is quite opposite to the 4th house, and the 4th house, as opposed to the Saturn, this opposition gives emphasis to the moon, and it activates Capricorn's 7th house, okay, which is essentially the inner world, the mother, nurturing, the design of liberation on the path of the triplicity of water. So we'll go ahead and firstly get started with a karmic reading, and then we'll move into more of an organic incident that occurs in the month of December for Capricorn, how to deal with that, how to facet it so that it can be a gem within the experience of what you're going through. Take what you will. This is 50% correct, and it's primarily for entertainment. After that, we'll go into the Great Mirror, which I'll elucidate a bit more on in a second. So, karmically, there is a process of creating a vision. This requires a great deal of intuition for the month of December, the ability to see forward and to have some sort of clairvoyance or intuition. The thing is that there's a surrendering of this power. It's like you are empowered to look into the future, to do things and to essentially prognosticate or to diagnose something or to see it coming. But you're giving chance a favor. You're giving essentially letting things fall into place, okay? So it's as if you're surrendering a type of willpower of your own for a greater good. Whatever that good is, it is based on essentially, I would call it a natural order of things, okay? How things should naturally turn out. There's a natural quality to December wherein you are being informed by an iteration of Mother Earth of what has gone on in terms of its changing or its season, okay? Let's say its season. And with autumn coming to a close and December coming in, the winter season coming in, there is a sense that the fire is dying out, something where you don't have to use that magic in order to prognosticate, to look into something, to manifest something. You're surrendering will, okay? And that can apply to a number of different situations, but primarily this has to do with getting out of certain relationships, okay? To understand that there is a system within these relationships that do not serve your better empowerment, okay? And I say relationships in plural. It doesn't have to be. It could be one in particular. It could be a work situation. It could be a family issue or something like that, something familiar. But getting rid of that is important to understand what I would call the nature of love, the nature of expectation, the nature of happiness. There's something about you letting go of the will to do something that would be against any other's will. You have the power to do so. You also have the power to foresee something into the future. But as soon as you do that, it just it saturates, it disintegrates, something like this. I think what you're really seeking for is a path to power, a path to stability in some way, shape, or form. This will come if you are patient enough to find the right path, as opposed to something that, let's see here. It feels like a burden. There's something here that feels like a burden, but it's not. This has to do with choosing the right path to success, to stability. It feels like a burden, but it's not. It actually isn't. At the same time, there's an end to passions. There's a coldness that I rather like. It has to do with the putting out of the fire, making things cooler, letting things and their intensities burn out, fizzle out for themselves. If there's anything in terms of a temper when it comes to expectation with your path, especially the path of joy and fruition that occurs with others when walking through certain gateways of realization. There's something more selfish that is occurring now that is actually not a bad thing. Self-awareness, self-realization when it comes to your own career, your own business is very important, and it's important to tend to that. Okay, now let's look more into an incidental level when it comes to this reading so far. So I think there's a way for December to allow for a way to distinguish yourself, to set yourself apart and aside for others to witness. And they will see this. That they will also see an ability for you to get over in the future a way of being too cold or too reserved. There's a coolness as opposed to a coldness. It's different, wherein there's a calm that is occurring in the month of December. Let's see what's going on for. Okay. So this coolness can also be described as a sense of peace or relaxation. There's a period of stillness, a period of static stillness, maybe even stagnation, but I don't think so. A lot of you in the past has been tending to connections that kind of need a form of transformation. There's something about those connections in particular that you tend to, and it's difficult because those people require a great deal of faith, but not much else. It's kind of like a blind quality, but you're at your restful state. And there could be a situation in which there's a feeling of isolation in December, a need to understand that this numbness or this letting go of like endless thoughts or repetitions of the mind or psychological sort of structures of the mind, how they're constantly sort of playing themselves out to nothing. There's an ability to understand that these have a place in bringing forward Neptune and Venus's energy. Okay. This is also the 2nd house and the 12th house. There's a way to look at the many and various connections that you've had with others, and to understand that it's like you're no longer thinking of them or others or these incidents. There's a sort of calm disregard for the more mystical aspects of what is going to be. And there's a lot of foresight that I see in December. With the solar energy shifting into Capricorn, there is essentially a return, but there also is an activation of the 12th house that is occurring now, but also leading up into December and in December. So essentially, this is the ending of a certain way of doing things, and then the rebirth of your solar cycle. That's all in what I can say. In terms of advice for this, yeah, it's the sun. So you have to essentially find a way to bring forward a new sense of self-expression, to also look for radiance in whatever way, shape, or form it may come to you, and in your relationships or the relationship with self. There's something about it that brings forth the life force. You have to seek out the life force. This can be hidden in many different things, but primarily it is in your reality, how you deal with your everyday, your work, and you can radiate through your work. You can shine through your work. That's what I'm seeing in terms of advice. So let us continue, and we shall progress into the Great Mirror, which is the primary portion of this reading. I do thank you for your likes and your subscribes. I don't intend on closing this channel anytime soon. We'll go ahead and get started. Excuse me. So one thing to note is that there is a friend who is seeking you out. This friend is watching over you, and they bode well, they mean well for you. At the same time, they perceive you as someone who hasn't made a choice, who's on the sort of crisis point, the transformational point, trying to understand one reality from another, one truth from another, trying to be subjective about things and to know that your subjectivity actually has an effect. There's something about this where they see you, they're watching over you, protected. They intend also to balance out your energies in some way, shape, or form. Now, Page of Pentacles has come up twice for you. It's important to methodologically approach things, to be realistic and to be practical. This is a situation that you contribute to. It's someone who has a lot but doesn't share, they don't contribute with you. In this respect, they have the power to do so, but they are behaving in such a way that they've been closed off, cold. King of Pentacles shows up again. Okay, now this could be a version of yourself that you're dealing with, where you're not giving yourself the time to let go of something. Now, the nature of well, I hate to use the term of manifestation in terms of you know, bringing forward wealth, is that you have to give your wealth in order to gain your wealth. And that also incorporates you dealing with a version of yourself where you have to give to yourself in order to get from yourself. The thing is that yourself is not giving, is not forgiving in terms of this energy, meaning that there's a realm of expectation, a hoardiness, where you're trying to essentially give back or to get the return, but then you're not being kind enough to do that. You could be dealing with someone who is dominated by Saturn. Saturn could be a big factor in this. Now, with the agency of Saturn heavily into this reading, at least on a conscious level, it's important to note that Saturn gives to those who are patient. It could be even said that Saturn gives to those who are lazy and who let time do its magic. And it's the slow time that I'm talking about. I think primarily this is a sincere connection. This has to do with essentially an element of forgiveness, and it's like you're doing so just to keep things real, just to keep things authentic, whomever you're dealing with. This could be an older person as well, an older person who is satisfied with their own things. There's something about this connection that symbolizes the letting go of a burden. Okay. I think what you are bringing forward in terms of this connection is a way to show them that you've been on the right path, to show them that you've been very conscious about where you have been, and it has been a very isolated and lonely journey, but it's been one of self-focus and self-advancement of some sort. There's an ability for you to also look onto this path and then also to share it with another, to share your story. And this is a way for you to give to this person for the month of December. The thing is that there is a very strong idealism and a focus on what is sincere and what can bring a sense of clarity. Okay, clarity is very necessary for this type of connection to work, and there also is a deep sense that that it's a very heavy connection, and perhaps this type of clarity of bringing forward this idea that both of you bring an equal amount of time and energy to this situation, that indeed makes it real, that indeed makes it authentic. Okay. There's also an ability here for you to silence the mind, to wonder, to try to understand why. And the mystery of this is very difficult to understand, because with the Hermit in reverse here, the 12th house is very much activated, wherein there is an unconditional 12th house Neptunian sort of quality in this connection, where the dream and the sort of the dissolution of the self, the dissolution of the control that the Hermit has, the ending of that, it leads to a mystery. It leads to a realization, but this realization, it takes you off the path you've been on, okay? A path of your own, of exclusively your own. And now there's a need to share this with another. The idea here is to be very sincere, to also to note some of the more idealistic aspects that both of you have about certain situations, to entertain, okay, through this story. There's an ability for you to entertain through the story, to give a token of your appreciation, but also you might come to the harsh realization that this person does not have the time. They don't want to. There's something very reserved about what they do, and they're also very self-absorbed into achieving a status, some form of status. The Fool is coming up again, and it's in the reverse this time. The idea here is for, in terms of advice, is to essentially, I would say, to be realistic and to listen to those who would tell you otherwise. To essentially watch your step when it comes to this type of situation. This is not a time to be foolish. So even if you had a story or a part to tell in this connection, there's something about it where a part of you has lost the faith or the will to contribute. But you can still idealize it. You can still try to balance things out by sacrificing something about what you have been searching for, which could be more commitments, it could be more practical sort of return. The idea here is to be, at least sincere and to forgive in some way, shape, or form any foolish behaviors. And that's the best I can do for this month. I do wish you well, my dear Capricorn. Please take care now. Bye-bye.